Well, hi and welcome to my shop, and I apologize for the tone you're hearing right off the bat, but that's coming out of this radio you see in front of you. And I've been setting up the car radio to do a heat run test, and prior to that I'm doing just a on-off test, looking for the fade effect that was the complaint with this radio. That we switch it on, and in a few minutes it fades significantly. And so far I've been unable to duplicate that effect. I turned the radio on for the first time in quite a few days, and unfortunately I did not have the test equipment set up, like a kind of a unfortunate thing I did, and I missed what could have been the fade, because the radio came on right on an FM station, played, and over the course of about 2 to 3 minutes it sure seemed to me like it quieted down. Well, it didn't disappear, it just quieted down a bit. So since then, I've finished connecting the equipment. Here, it's not quite in view of the camera. Let's put it in. Okay, so you can see this meter is indicating the output just around 0.42 volts going to the speaker right now. Now that's been steady, and I've been keeping some notes. I've only had it running for about 20 minutes anyway. And hey, the reason I didn't video all that is because I was listening to the CBC Sunday morning radio show, which I really like to catch because it's very informational. So with the radio playing, I couldn't shoot a video due to copyright problems. So what a conflict here. Fix the radio, listen to the radio, talk on the TV, what am I going to do? So anyway, that's over. So I have the video running. I'm just killing a little bit of time here. The radio is operating very, very stably. The tone you're hearing is not coming from this signal generator or the one up above here. It's actually coming from my FM signal source, and that's where that tone is coming from. I think I can get rid of it if I do that. Yeah. But we don't want to make any changes of any real significance here. We want to let this thing run. In fact, really what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off and let it sit for a while, turn it back on, and see if there isn't a fade apparent on this meter, because it's working very, very consistently. Incidentally, to ensure, or to better ensure that I'm not causing fade problems myself, I've actually soldered the lead wire. Here, I have to tip this down again. This is the well, this doesn't really matter, I just realized. For AM purposes, this is how the signal reaches the radio. For FM, it's being transmitted from my signal generator just through the air. I hate to say that, but through the air in my shop, and the radio's picking it up again on this wire, but not directly. So it's actually receiving it like it would receive any radio signal. Okay, I've talked away now for a few minutes. It's still exactly 4.2. Nothing is changing. So I think what I'll do is I'll shut it off, leave everything just as it is, give it like half an hour, come back, switch it on, and this time on video we'll see what happens. So I'm really under the impression there is nothing wrong with this radio. But that's just an impression. Let's give it a real good test. We'll see you in about a half an hour. Okay, so just about an hour has actually gone by, and this radio has sat here. Incidentally, I'm measuring the temperature on my bench. It's 18 degrees C, which is a little cool. There's quite a draft that blows across this way, keeping things a little cool. I thought it would be cooler, actually, more like 16, but so what I'm hoping will happen here is I'll turn the radio on. We'll see this meter pop up well above 4, up into this range up here, and then in the course of a few seconds come back to around 4. It's not that I really want it to do that. If it does that, then it's confirming a problem in the radio. I really want the radio to work so I can put it back together and give it back to its owner. So we really have to keep our eye peeled on this. Hopefully nothing else has changed in my shop. I've left all the equipment running, everything just absolutely untouched. I wasn't even in here, in fact. I'll only get one shot at this. So, everybody's eyes to the meter, including mine. I'm going to flip the switch on and watch that meter jump up. Here we go, and you'll hear it. Also hear it, gotta listen to it. Now there's volume control, automatic volume control stuff going on with YouTube and that, so you may not be able to hear any difference that I might be able to hear. So I'll have to rely on my ears. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow, we're not getting at all the result I expected. It's not tuning to the tone. What should I do? Should I tune the radio quickly? Son of a gun. The noise itself is there. Why don't we just leave it for a minute and see if it tunes itself back in. Ah, it's not what I wanted at all. Foodie. Now I wonder why it's not receiving. I don't want to disturb it too much. Based on the noise, which you probably can't hear, but there's a slight hiss in the speakers, and it's causing the meter to read a little bit here. That noise has remained at a steady level. That in itself might be an indication that there's no fading in the radio. It certainly didn't do what I wanted it to do. Okay, so I'll have to tune it. Of course, I don't want to rush into that. Here we go. Here, let's see if I can get everything in the shot here. Slowly, slowly. There we go. I got everything in the shot now. Darn it. Let's tune it. What happened?
Good afternoon, Jim.
Where's my tone? It's just the antenna connection making that change there. Well, I don't know why that tone wasn't there when we first switched it on. So that's interesting in itself. I have not adjusted the volume, I have not adjusted any other settings, and the meter reading is 5 point, I shouldn't say it. I haven't adjusted any other settings. I was tuning the radio, which is it's a pretty big adjustment. So we're looking at 0.55 volts coming out of it now. That's certainly not a reduction from the 4 before, the 0.4. I think I'm stuck having to repeat this test. So I don't know why the radio was not tuned in. So I think what I'll do is I'll just shut everything off again, and we'll come back in about a half an hour, and we'll give it another shot. But for now, I'm certainly not finding any evidence of fading at this point. So we'll shut her off. We'll come back in about a half hour. Okay, so something like a half an hour has gone by. In fact, there's a clock here that you can watch, and you can actually see the real time. So if I said it was an hour or half an hour and it turns out it wasn't, it's just because my perception is wrong about exactly how much time is going by. So I think I left this sit for half an hour or so by my reckoning. So I'm ready now just to flip the switch on and really hope that we'll see the signal right away. First of all, last time I did this, for some reason the radio was no longer tuned to it, which is quite a mystery to me. So let's go. We'll flip it on. Here we go. Okay, 7 on the meter. And dropping. Okay, so it started out at about 6.8 on this meter, 0.68 volts in fact, 0.68 volts, and it's dropped now to 0.6, and it's continuing to drop a little further. Or is it? And that's, you know, that much fading, that quickly on turn on can probably be written off to just everything coming up to its proper voltages. I mean, that was really fast, within a fraction of a second there. And my understanding, the fading takes place over a 5-minute period. So let me make a note here, as I am making notes on all this. So 12:04, switch on. The voltage was 0.68, dropping to well, now it's down to 5.5. See, this could also be tuning drift, a slight amount of tuning drift. It's just getting into the range now where somebody might notice it. But you'd have to be listening very carefully to notice this. And the compensation is just to turn the volume up ever so slightly. It would overcome it. It's not fading out. Fading out is what I would consider a really serious problem. A little bit of fading like this. Well, we're going to let this run for 10 minutes and see what it does. So, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, so a bunch of time has gone by again, and the radio is still tuned and playing the tone, as you can hear it. The meter is reading 5.6 or 0.56 volts, and last time I left 0.56 volts, so there's no variation here. The initial drop was very, very minimal. In fact, really, it's meaningless, I think, for the output of a thing like this to drop 5% after 10 seconds. I just don't think it's a valid observation at all. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this radio. So my next challenge is just to reassemble it and get it back together so it's working. And I really think the problem lies in the antenna, as has been suggested by 2 viewers, and thank you very much for that. There is evidence of moisture inside the antenna connector, which suggests moisture in the cable from the antenna. Not clear to me in my head how a wet antenna cable causes fading over 5 minutes. I can't figure that one out in my head, but that's all I got to go with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to shut this thing down and reassemble it, and that's the best I can do. You know, there's a chance that when I cleaned out all the metal in here, that somehow that changed what's going on in this radio. I think the chance is pretty minimal, frankly. So I'm gonna, you know, my money's on the antenna. So I'll just get busy and start reassembling this radio, starting with switching it off. Oh, thank God. Goodbye to that tone. So, away we go. Well, there's all the parts.
Baby,